Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're zeroing in on something kind of surprising about ourselves, about our own internal drive,
Yeah.
determination. It's that thing, right? That engine we rely on to get anything done, that stubborn focus. But what happens when that power, that sheer will, is aimed at something? Well, something destructive.
Yeah, that's exactly the tension, isn't it? That's what we're digging into today. We're looking at this ancient source, specifically a line from the book of Hosea, chapter 5, verse 11,
Right.
where God basically calls out his people not for being weak, but for being incredibly strong-willed,
Yeah.
just in completely the wrong direction.
And the source text itself, it's really direct, almost blunt. It says, Ephraim is oppressed, crushed in judgment, because he was determined to follow what is worthless.
Wow.
You're determined.
So our mission today is to unpack that. What's the history behind this tragedy? What does worthless even mean here? And then crucially, how does this ancient warning speak to us, right now? We want to help you spot the modern illusions, the idols that promise so much but end up just crushing us. Okay, so let's set the stage historically. To really get the weight of being determined to follow what is worthless, we need to rewind. Back to when the kingdom of Israel fractured.
After Solomon.
Exactly. And you have this figure, Jeroboam, son of Nebat. He leads the 10 northern tribes in breaking away from the southern kingdom, from Judah.
And suddenly he's got this huge problem on his hands, politically and religiously. How does he stop all his people from heading down south to Jerusalem to worship? That's where the loyalty is supposed to be.
Precisely. He needed to secure his new kingdom. And his solution, it was religious substitution. The source material tells us he sets up these golden calves.
The infamous golden calves.
Right. And he places them very strategically. One in Bethel, one way up north in Dan.
Okay, so why those locations?
Well, think about it. Dan is like the absolute northern border of his territory. Bethel is right down south, super close to the border with Judah.
Ah, so he's boxing them in, religiously speaking.
Pretty much. He's essentially rebranding the faith, making it convenient, making it local. He's saying, look, you don't need to go all the way to Jerusalem. Worship right here. It's easier, it's safer, it still counts. It was like a political power play wrapped in religious language.
Like a CEO cutting corners, maybe, for market share?
That's a good way to put it, yeah. Sacrificing integrity for perceived stability.
And what's really striking is how quickly this goes south, spiritually. I mean, it starts as maybe political convenience, a compromise,
Calculated.
but it hardens really fast, doesn't it? Becomes this generational thing. Kids grow up seeing the calves, and it's just normal.
Absolutely no. They wouldn't even question it. And that leads to this deeply divided devotion, Their hearts aren't fully in one place anymore.
And the source mentions it didn't stop at the calves, did it?
No, not at all. Once you crack that door open to idolatry, other things creep in. The text points specifically to Baal and Asherah. These were gods from the nations around them.
Gods associated with fertility, harvest, protection.
All the earthly things. They were trying to hedge their bets, essentially. Mix a bit of God's truth, as they saw it, with these other power sources to guarantee, human comfort and security. A customized religion.
Which brings us right back to Hosea's sharp words. He's looking at Ephraim, which stood for the whole northern kingdom, really.
Right, the dominant tribe.
And he says the problem isn't laziness, it's not apathy, it's their effort.
Yeah, let's really focus on that word. Determined. It's powerful. This wasn't like an accident, not a stumble. The original language suggests something fixed, strong-willed, resolute.
Like they were putting their best energy into this.
Their most stubborn commitment, yeah.
Right.
Directed entirely at nothingness, ultimately. They were completely convinced that their own strategies were the smart play.
Like making alliances with Egypt or Assyria.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Forming those political alliances, adopting the gods of powerful neighbors for, tested protection. They thought this was the path to national strength and security.
And then the prophet steps in and just labels all of it. The determination, the alliances, the sophisticated idols. He calls it all worthless. Which makes you ask, what does worthless really mean here?
Yeah.
It sounds harsh, like just a moral judgment.
Well, it is a moral judgment, but it's deeper than that. The Hebrew word often used here is hebel.
Hebel, okay.
And hebel doesn't just mean bad or sinful. Its core meaning is more like vapor, mist, a puff of breath.
Wow. So something that looks real, maybe, but has no substance.
Oh, exactly. It looks solid from far away, but you reach out to grab it and poof, it's gone. No staying power, no real lasting value. It can't bear any weight.
So their determination wasn't just aimed at something spiritually wrong. It was aimed at something fundamentally empty. like
Yeah.
trying to build a house on fog.
But that's a perfect image. They were putting all their energy, all their resolute focus onto something that literally could not support them. It was a kind of cosmic physics error, like you said.
And the result, they end up enslaved, right?
Yeah.
By the very things they hoped would free them or secure them. Fear, anxiety.
Confusion, yeah. Leading ultimately to their downfall as a nation. The irony is just tragic. That same powerful determination, that energy God wanted them to pour into loving him, into obedience, into the covenant.
Then channeled it into chasing smoke, chasing illusions.
Their own stubborn will became the engine driving them straight into oppression, crushed by the weight of nothingness.
Okay, this is where it starts to feel really close to home. Because we might not have literal golden calves sitting in our towns.
Probably not, yeah.
But wow, are we masters of being determined to follow Hebel? The idols of our age, they aren't statues, are they? They're ideas, feelings, status symbols.
Oh, absolutely. And the source material, it practically gives us a list, doesn't it? These modern, often intangible idols. Things like success,
Make one.
wealth, popularity, pleasure, recognition, and maybe the sneakiest one, even religious pride.
Oof. Using spirituality itself as a status symbol.
Right, using the things of God to build our own little kingdom of self-worth or influence.
Okay, but hang on. Let me push back a little here because this feels like a fine line. If I'm determined, say, to work hard and build a successful career, or I'm determined to save money responsibly for the future, isn't that just being prudent, being wise? Where does the source suggest that crosses into idolatry?
That's the crucial distinction, you're right, and it's subtle. The idol isn't necessarily the thing itself. Success can be fine, money is necessary. The idolatry happens when our trust shifts.
Our ultimate trust.
Yes, it's that subtle self-deception where a good means becomes the ultimate end. Prudence, wisdom, those operate within a framework of trusting God first. Idolatry takes that prudence, that strategy, and says, this is what will ultimately save me. This is what gives me meaning. This is my security.
So if I'm chasing that promotion, and deep down that little voice is saying, okay, this will finally make me feel worthy, this will make me feel safe, that's the switch.
That's the switch, right there. The career, the success is now being asked to bear the weight of your ultimate identity and security. And that foundation, it's Hebel, it's vapor. It cannot hold that weight.
So it's about what we rely on deep down.
Think about it. Our culture pushes so many substitutes. Human advice elevated above God's word. Best-selling books promising quick fixes for deep soul issues. Endless self-help cycles. Trusting financial security as the ultimate safety net against all fear.
Yeah.
We get determined to follow these things, often because they feel tangible. We can see them, control them, measure them. They promise results we think we can manage.
So we end up swapping dependence on the unseen God, which feels maybe uncertain.
Risky, yeah.
For dependence on these visible human strategies. And we tell ourselves it's just being smart, right? Being strategic in our career, our ministry, even our social media presence.
Exactly, just playing the game. But the moment our determination is fixed on those strategies because we believe they are fundamentally more reliable or powerful than God, we've put them on the altar. We've made the trade.
Trading God's yoke for what? The yoke of self-optimization.
Which, let me tell you, feels freeing for about 5 minutes, but it is infinitely heavier in the long run. It's exhausting.
Which leads right into the consequence, the crushing cost you mentioned. When our determination is locked onto these things, comfort, approval, achievement things rooted in vapor, they don't lift us up.
No, they crush us. Just like Hosea said about Ephraim. The source material is really clear, almost brutally honest about the emotional and spiritual price tag.
What does it look like?
Well, when your heart is fixed on the worthless, anxiety replaces peace. Of course it does. Your security system is made of mist. It's constantly threatening to evaporate.
Makes sense.
Exhaustion replaces joy. Because you're on this endless treadmill chasing things that constantly shift or demand more. The goalposts always move with idols.
You never arrive.
Never. And ultimately, emptiness replaces faith. Because these temporal comforts, these achievements, they just can't satisfy the deep, eternal longing of the human soul. They weren't designed to.
So it's the same basic pattern. Jeroboam's people trusted foreign alliances over God for security. We trust our approval ratings or our bank balance or our busyness for our sense of well-being.
It's relying on the temporal, the Hebel, instead of the eternal, the substantive. That's the core issue.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the way out? The source must offer an antidote, right?
It does, and it requires just as much determination, but redirected. It involved a radical shift in focus, turning that fixed determination back towards the only thing that actually has substance.
Which is?
Seeking God's kingdom first. That's the divine antidote presented.
So this connects to Jesus' teaching, that famous line from Matthew 6.33.
Exactly. It's not just nice religious advice, it's like a structural engineering principle for the soul. Jesus says, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you."
All those other things we worry about, the provision, the security.
He says they find their proper place when the primary pursuit is right. That verse is the roadmap for redirecting that powerful God-given determination we all have.
So instead of being determined to secure all these things directly,
You become determined to seek the king and his kingdom. And when you make the only thing that is truly worthy, God himself, his reign, his righteousness, your ultimate fixed pursuit, something amazing happens.
what's that?
You find rest. Suddenly, the crushing weight is lifted. The heart that treasures Christ, that finds its ultimate worth and security in him, well, it just doesn't have the same desperate need for substitutes anymore. There's no room for them, really.
And all that energy we were wasting.
That energy saved from chasing vapor, from propping up mist, it gets redirected towards loving God, loving others, bearing fruit that actually lasts, fruit that has substance.
It almost sounds like efficiency, spiritual efficiency.
Yeah.
Stop pouring energy into things that give no return.
In a way, yes. Idols always promise more than they deliver. Always. And they always take more than they give, more energy, more anxiety, more of your heart.
So the call is, be determined. Absolutely, that drive is powerful. But aim it right. Be determined for the eternal, not the worthless.
Exactly. And maybe that's the thought to leave with everyone listening. As you carry this deep dive forward into your week, let this be a kind of internal diagnostic check.
Okay.
If you find that your own strong-willed pursuits, that determination you rightly value, if you notice it's consistently leading you towards more anxiety, more exhaustion, rather than towards genuine peace and joy,
Yeah.
then ask yourself this really honest question. What hidden, worthless pursuit, what hebel has my heart actually become fixed upon? What am I determinedly chasing that's ultimately just vapor?
Because the answer to that reveals where your true devotion, your determination is really going.
Precisely. It shows you what's actually sitting on the throne of your heart. And only by seeing it can you begin to redirect that powerful determination towards what truly satisfies.